So for today, just want to get into a bit about, style, kind of what got you into it, why you think it's important, things like that. But before we get into that, wouldn't mind just providing a bit about background about yourself and how your site there, Unkept Gentleman, came to be.
Sure, yeah. Um, so my name's Travis, and I started off, I guess, like every other regular guy. I went to college, got a degree in business and finance, and I minored in accounting, and I went to work for, a big corporation in Houston, and was very unhappy. I don't know, I just something about that path just I didn't enjoy it, and I was pretty miserable at work every day. I was kind of dreading going into work. Just felt like um, the handcuffs were on, and I was trying to figure a way to get out. And during this whole time in college, I was real into fitness, and I was real into just bettering myself as a whole, from internally and externally, whether that be through working out and eating healthy and meditating and reading and learning new things. And one of the things that all of the healthy eating and fitness and everything led to was modeling.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided to go that route and pursue modeling a little bit. I was signed with an agency in Houston. They sent me to New York City to meet with agencies there, and I ended up getting like a contract offer from one of the agencies. But there are a couple things happening at that time that sort of led me away from that path. The first thing was I didn't really enjoy the industry when I got there, and I kind of, was on the inside. It just wasn't as glamorous as everyone makes it out to be
Mm-hmm.
when they're talking about modeling. And the second thing was there was a girl, and she was back in Houston, and we had just started kind of, I guess, dating at the time that I left for New York, and it was bad timing all
Mm-hmm.
around. And so those two things were sort of pulling me back to home to Houston. And good thing I did, because she's my wife now. So, I'm glad that I did come back. But so the whole modeling thing led to me pursuing fashion, and then pursuing fashion led to me learning about style, and then going down that rabbit hole led me to just uncover this whole world of how your presentation can affect how you show up in the world, and your confidence levels, and your social life, and how you interact with people, and what the power of color, and what messages you're projecting without even saying a word. And so that was just my huge roundabout pathway to landing on style.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started my style blog in 2015. So I've been doing it for about 3 years now. And so that's kind of a long-winded way of getting to how I started my website, how I started discover the power of style and presentation. So,
Okay,
yeah.
gotcha. Now you were mentioning there a bit about how style can help project confidence in the way you present yourself and all that sort of stuff. So would you say those are probably the most important parts of style, or why it's really important?
Well, I'd say that it's important for two reasons. The first reason is that it's the science of enclosed cognition. So I think it was Northwestern University that ran the study, but totally feel free to look it up yourself and correct me if I'm wrong. But they did a study where they took two groups of people. One was dressed in regular, everyday, casual clothing, and the second group they gave a white coat, and they said that this is a doctor's coat, and then they tested their cognitive abilities. And the tests that they were running were centered around attention and how well that people could pay attention to things. And the people who were wearing the doctor's coat performed significantly better on the test than the people wearing the casual clothing. And so the people running the study were like, this is very interesting. Why is that the case? So then they redid the study using the control group, and then instead of saying it's a doctor's coat, they gave them the exact same white lab coat, and they said it was a painter's smock. So all they did, they didn't change anything. They just changed what type of coat it was. And they ran the study again, and the people in the painter's smock actually performed significantly worse than the control group. So what that tells me is that, and what they discovered from the study was that it's not necessarily the fabric you're wearing that is making a difference in your mind. It's the symbolism attached to the clothing that improves your own performance. And the second thing that style does is simply that people, when they first meet you, they don't see a fancy degree. They don't see all the years of trials and tribulations you've been through. They don't see your character. All they see is what they're presented with. So it's internally how you present yourself, internally how you respect yourself, and externally how people first view you. I think are the two big reasons that your clothing and presentation matters.
Okay, gotcha. Now, when you first got into style, what do you wish that somebody told you?
That I didn't have to spend tons of money to dress well. I was under the impression that I had to go, I couldn't thrift, or it's not that I didn't know, it's not that I couldn't, it's that I didn't know how to do it. It's that my first reaction was dress well, expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Dress well, made to measure suits, custom clothing. You have to get it to fit perfectly. It has to be the best fabrics. And the truth is that, yes, fit. I mean, fabric is important, but really the most important part and what people are going to first notice is the fit. So if you can find something that's at a mid-range price level, or something that's actually really nice, but maybe from a thrift store, and you just take it to a tailor, you can dress extremely well for a very low budget. And all you really need is the determination to find those pieces and to go out and make it happen. It's not something where you have to go and spend thousands and thousands of dollars to build a professional wardrobe.
Okay, gotcha. And getting into the importance of fit there, besides fit, what do you think are the top three mistakes that men make when they first get into style?
I would say the first big one is trying to wear something that feels like a costume. A lot of times when men especially, hear dress well or dress nice, it means that they have to abandon who they are and put on something that is, completely against their personality, or it doesn't go with maybe the location that they're in, or maybe their occupation, or their personal taste. They're trying to essentially put on a costume, so to speak. The clothing starts wearing them rather than them wearing the clothing. So that's probably the biggest mistake that I see guys making. I would say another mistake is the one that I already mentioned about thinking that to dress well you have to just go buy more clothes. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of things that you can do to completely transform your image that you don't have to spend a dime to do. The first thing could be grow your hair out, or maybe spend $15 to just get a haircut, or $20 to get a haircut. Like that's a very low cost to free thing that you can do. Another thing is grow a beard or shave. Like that totally transforms your image. Putting on cologne, taking your current wardrobe and to the tailor. These are all really low cost things that you don't have to go out and buy new outfits to do. There's so many different dials that you can turn. It's not as simple as just more clothing equals, looking better. So I would say those are the top two. Did you ask me for three? I don't know. Yeah. I love three off the top of my head.
That's right. I think that pretty much covered. And then of course I think covering into that tailoring part, the fit of course is probably the most important part of it, because if it doesn't fit, then no matter how good the quality of the clothes are or what brand you're wearing, it's just not going to look good, right? So now getting into once they figured out those mistakes and overcome those, what 5 items do you think every guy should have in their wardrobe, regardless of what style they're kind of going for? Just the 5 that every guy should have.
Yeah. Um, well, like, of course, every guy is going to be different when it comes to their personal taste and what how the message that they want to present to the world. I would say that there probably are a few pieces that kind of overlap with
Mm-hmm.
every different style. I would definitely say, a leather jacket is a must. Just have one. I know that a lot of guys, it's like most guys veer away from buying leather, but it really is a head turner. It's something where you can just put it on, you become more masculine, you walk into the room, and heads turn. Another thing, just have one suit. Because it doesn't matter if you are an electrician or a plumber or a lawyer or a banker or you work in construction, you're going to need one suit at some point in your life, whether it's for a funeral, whether it's for a wedding, whether somebody in your family is graduating, for a charity event. You're going to need a suit at some point. So I would say definitely invest in one charcoal or navy suit. Um, White button downs can pretty much be worn no matter what. If your style is rugged, if your style is classy, if your style is more on the trendy side, a white button down can fit into that, any one of those sort of personal styles. I would definitely say denim, a dark wash denim.
Mm-hmm.
Again, that's something that transcends all, or overlaps with every type of style out there. Jeans can be rugged, jeans can be dressed up, especially if they're a dark wash pair of jeans. They can be worn with a blazer, and those dark wash pair of jeans can also be worn with a leather jacket and boots.
Mm-hmm.
So those are things you can dress up and down. And then the last thing that I would definitely think I would add to that is just one pair of dress shoes, whether they're brown or black. I would say brown you'll get more mileage out of because black's a pretty formal color.
Mm-hmm.
So just one pair of brown dress shoes, because again, you can wear them with that one suit you have. You can wear them with that white button down and the dark denim. You can wear them with a leather jacket. It's something that you can really. Those are probably the most versatile items, no matter what type of style you as a guy have. So those would be my top five if I had to make a list.
Okay, great. And now I know part of your background is photography, especially with your Instagram account there.
Mm-hmm.
So, did you get into photography, say, before you got into style, or did they kind of come hand in hand?
Yeah. So uh, I spent 5 years modeling before I moved over to blogging,
Mm-hmm.
and so I learned a lot about lighting. I learned a lot about posing, and but the two things that I didn't really learn was what every photographer practices and sharpens their sword doing is retouching and composition, and those are the two things that sort of I needed to learn to become a photographer. But going back to your question, when I started my style blog, the number one thing that I knew I needed was content. And style especially, because, you can read about style, you can go on an article and you can read, but at the end of the day, you really need to see it. And you
Mm-hmm.
need to see how something looks. You need to see how the colors work with each other. You want to see what different pieces look like. So I knew that images were going to be vital. So when I first started blogging, it was very expensive. I was always going to have to hire photographers to create content. And before I really got big on Instagram, I was having to go and buy clothes. So I was spending money on clothes. I was spending money on photos, and it was just burning a hole in my wallet.
Mm-hmm.
So at this point, I was like, there's got to be a better way to do this. So instead of spending money every week on photographers, I invested in my own gear. I taught myself photography. It took me about 3 or 4 months of just consistently sitting down and learning and taking pictures. And then I started collaborating with other aspiring fashion bloggers or already established fashion bloggers. I would just network with them, and we would go out and essentially shoot each other. And because at that point, it's like, they need content, you need content.
Mm-hmm.
So we would and that was good practice for my photography. That was good practice for me editing. I could get pictures immediately. And so now that I have honed in on that skill set, it's a value that I can provide to others, and it's also helped me edit and create all of my own content as well. So it was sort of a organic segue from style into photography, for me at least. And now I'm actually working on a course that teaches other aspiring influencers how they can own their own content creation and grow their own, personal brand, whether that be online or on a website, on Instagram, on social media, or whatever they want to do.
Okay, gotcha. Um, what do you think some of the basics that anybody needs to know in order to take good pictures and to pose well for them?
Um, so the number one thing that I tell guys if I'm the photographer and I'm shooting somebody else, a lot of guys don't know what to do with their hands.
Hmm.
It's just a big, I don't know, why it's that problem specifically, but a lot of guys seem to just feel kind of awkward if they've never modeled before and they're trying to look organic and authentic in pictures. They tend to put their hands where they think looks good rather than just relaxing and having them fall naturally. So what I like to do is give guys some sort of prop, whether that be a cell phone or a bag or a watch that they can check, just something to keep their hands busy. And so they're not thinking about their hands, because the moment they start thinking about what to do with their hands, they start getting in awkward poses and looking kind of there like,
Yep.
do I touch my face? Do I put my hands in my pocket? Do I cross my arms? And when they're thinking too much about it, it tends to come off unnatural. And then the next thing, what did you ask about? Basics of photography, like what to.
Yeah, just basics on how to make the picture look well instead of, just you took randomly from your phone or something like that, something
Right.
that's actually well edited.
Yeah. So one big tip that I could offer is a rule in design, whether this be photography, whether this be graphic design, whether there's any art, a painting. One rule that makes photos look more aesthetic is called the rule of thirds. So if you have a subject in frame and you're taking a picture, most cameras and even most smartphones, they'll have they're kind of called grid lines. There'll be two lines running across the middle and two lines horizontally and two lines running vertically. And they divide the image into thirds. And if you can place your subject on one of those lines and then place your background on, so just placing your subject on one of those third lines essentially follows the rule of thirds, and it just makes a photo look more aesthetic. And there's tons of other rules of composition and design and art and things you can follow, but I think that's probably the biggest one to take a really cool picture, and something that people who don't ever take pictures could easily implement instantly, and they could take their pictures to the next level, is just implementing the rule of thirds.
Okay, gotcha. Now, once they get all that down, get the pictures and everything else, with us heading now into fall and into winter, I know we mentioned earlier on the top 5 items every guy should have in their wardrobe, but which items specifically you think they should have now to cover for fall and into winter?
Yeah, fall is my favorite time of year for men's style because we're pulling out a lot of the lighter weight pieces that are really fun to layer. So things like lightweight sweaters, which you can layer over a button down. Things like lightweight jackets, like a bomber jacket or a track jacket or a varsity jacket. Those are all really fun pieces that you can start to implement. I would start with color first because the fall is more earth tones.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be getting the olives, you're going to be getting the ivories, you're going to be getting a lot of the burgundies and the darker earth tones rather than the bright neon or summer colors that a lot of people like to wear. And so just getting earth tones into your fall wardrobe, and I would say the top pieces that you could get for those tones would be something like a dark khaki pant or a dark olive pant. Something like a turtleneck, whether it be black or navy or burgundy, would be a really nice piece to have because you can pair that with a blazer, you can pair it with a leather jacket, you can pair it with an overcoat, or you could just wear it as is without anything. So that's a really good piece. Having some sort of textured sweater. So whether that be with the way that it's stitched, there's a textured pattern to it. That's just a piece that you can wear alone without having to layer it at all. It looks really, really nice. And there's a lot of science behind textured clothing that for all the guys out there, it actually makes, women will want to subconsciously put their hands in the texture. So, it's a good way to like break the ice, touch your arm or something like that if you're trying to, date or meet somebody new. So that's definitely a good piece to have in your wardrobe. And then I would just say, a lot of denim jackets, denim pants, and then as far as footwear goes, having one pair of boots, whether it be a pair of Chelsea boots or a pair of lace-up boots. Those will probably be your staples in a fall wardrobe, and they could be leather or suede. I like suede better personally. I just think it gives your outfit a cool texture. But of course, I mean, leather is always masculine. It's always a timeless piece too.
Hmm. Okay, and would you say a lot of those items kind of carry over into winter as well?
Absolutely, yeah, because you can layer them up, and then all you can essentially the only difference between fall and winter is the amount of layers you have. So fall you're wearing like maybe 1 to 2 layers, and then winter you might throw on an extra overcoat, or you might put on an extra pair of thermal underwear underneath those layers, and then depending on where you live and how cold it gets. I live in Texas, so it's never going to get to the point where I'm going to need 4 or 5 layers.
Yep.
I'm, 3 max if it's in the dead of winter. But if you live in Canada, or if you live in New York, or if you live, I don't know where else gets incredibly cold, just up north, Michigan,
Yep.
Wisconsin,
Yep.
in the Midwest, northern Midwest gets freezing up there. So definitely you'll have 5, 6 layers maybe. I don't know. You could wear thermal underwear and a t-shirt and an overcoat, a button down and a sweater and an overcoat. And, so that's, I guess, the difference between fall and winter, just the number of layers you're having.
Okay. Okay. Great. I think that pretty much covered all the questions that I have. So, I really appreciate you taking the time to sit down and talk with me today.
Yeah, no problem at all. Thanks for having me.